Assalamualaikum. Today I want to introduce my member teams. First is Fatin Shazwani binti Abu Zaki. The second one is my name, Fatin Nur Ashifa binti Muhammad Fauzi. And the third one is Rabatu Fahana binti Muhammad Asrul.
The paradigm of business has shifted. We must think beyond what we are and take steps towards what we do, what we believe in. True sustainability means responsibility. You cannot grow if others are left behind. As corporates, businesses, and organizations, we have a mandate to strengthen social fabric and build human capital. If we are to walk a path of prosperity together, we need to lead, do, give back, play our part in uplifting communities and support causes that matter. But how do you know that the social investments you make have the impact you want to achieve? How do you know that your resources are going to the right place? Introducing Footprint, Food and Trees for Africa's Beneficiary Impact Platform. Footprint is a novel data-driven application designed to assist your teams in maximizing success with their social investments. The system utilizes assessment data across thousands of existing and potential projects to match your support with committed beneficiaries in line with your strategy. Feeding in 30 years of experience and tracking more than 150 data points, Footprint simplifies the intervention process by guiding selection and aiding decision-making. The technology utilizes scorecard algorithms to rank beneficiaries and identify key areas needed to improve their chances of sustainability. With the help of our friendly assessment team, Footprint will provide you with objective data and better insight on your interventions. Regardless of your strategy, framework, project type, or needs, you need an accurate way to measure your investment impact and easily report on the information that matters to you. In essence, Footprint allows you to see where your money should go and what it has done. Walk the path of development with us and leave behind a legacy. Footprint, where technology meets social investment, and innovation by Food and Trees for Africa.
The introduction of element in green fundamental. The introduction is fresh water is vital to the life on the earth. With the expansion of world population, so use of water grow as it directly proportionate with the population expansions. Everything we wear, buy, eat, sell, drinks, or use require water to make at any single stage or on their production. This is known as vital water or the hidden flow of water. Each and every process for our daily needs require either direct or indirect usage of water. Misuse of water is now a global issue. To mention the amount of water content in each product or process, water footprint was introduced in 2002 by Dr. Arjan Water Footprint Network. The main aim is this concept is to having a consumption-based indicator of water usage that could provide useful information in addition to the traditional production sector-based indicator of water use. This concept is analogous to the ecological footprint concept introduced in 1919. More importantly, it also accounts for the amount of water contaminated during manufacturing and production, and also the amount of water waste. Impact from anthropogenic effect and climate change have already led to change in the water cycle. According to the scientists, global demand of water supply will be outstripped by 40% by the year 2030. What is a carbon footprint? A carbon footprint is a measure of the impact our activities have on the environment and in particular climate change. It relates to the amount of greenhouse gas produced in our day-to-day life through burning fossil fuels for electricity, heating, and transportation. The water footprint.
Water, our most important resource. Why should we worry about water? Lima, our city, has a desert climate. 10 million people live in it, and its population is growing every day. It may go unnoticed, but we are already facing a chronic water shortage. While Peru has abundant water resources, Lima only has available 125 cubic meters of water per person per year. The rivers Chillon, Rimac, and Lurin are our main water sources, but they are not enough. This is the reason why we use water from the Mantaro River Basin as well as groundwater. In spite of having access to all these water sources, 1 million people living in Lima have difficulties accessing drinking water. This is but the tip of the iceberg. If we keep wasting water like we have until now, soon we won't have access to water for the production processes in a variety of industries, or even for our own domestic use. This is why we have calculated the water footprint. It allows us to measure our impact, quantifying and comparing the amount of water that we use and contaminate. Many people are not aware of the critical situation. But now, with a deeper look into Lima's water footprint, we will be able to understand why the water consumption in Lima is unsustainable. These indicators help us calculate and compare our use of water in each sector and district. For instance, how much water is consumed in your municipality for the irrigation of green areas? How much water do companies use for producing goods and services? Which are the municipalities with the highest water consumption, and which ones are better at managing water resources? In order to measure our consumption and our use of water, we quantify the water footprint and divide it in 3 components. The green water footprint. It is the amount of rainwater used by plants that doesn't return to river basins. It doesn't rain in Lima, so the green trace is not taken into account. The blue water footprint is the amount of surface water, rivers, lakes, and lagoons, and underground water consumed in the daily activities of people or in the production of goods and services. The gray water footprint is the amount of fresh water needed to reduce the concentration of pollutants so that they meet acceptable water quality levels. For instance, to reduce the concentration of 1 liter of petroleum to environmentally acceptable levels in water bodies, 1,000 cubic meters of water are needed. The total blue water footprint in Lima, that is, the amount of water consumed which is no longer fit for any other purposes, is approximately 638 million cubic meters per year. This is the equivalent of 255,000 Olympic swimming pools. All of us are part of the problem, and we share responsibilities. 54% of the water footprint comes from domestic uses. 15% comes from the commercial sector. 15% belongs to industries. 9% comes from agriculture. And 7% belongs to the public sector. If we measure the consumption in each district, the water footprint varies. The districts with more access to water sources consume more, while those that have less access don't even have a chance to use the minimum water amounts necessary for humans. This means that Lima's water footprint is socially unsustainable. With only 7%, the public sector has the smallest blue water footprint in Lima. And it could decrease if we consider the great amount of drinking water consumed by many municipalities for the irrigation of green areas. Let's take a look at Lima's gray water footprint. Polluted water would need 1,768 million cubic meters of drinking water to assimilate the polluting load, which would be the equivalent of 3 times the Rimac River. While we decide to take action, we continue to suffer from water stress. Because a great deal of the blue water available in our city is consumed with no possibilities of recovering it, our severe water stress goes on throughout the year. Understanding that we are facing these problems is the first step. Working together in order to reduce our water footprint can make a change. Domestic users on their end can evaluate the water consumption and try to reduce it. The municipalities can replace drinking water with treated wastewater for the irrigation of green areas. The commercial and industrial sectors can implement technologies that allow them to use water more efficiently and improve the quality of their wastewater. The Blue Certificate promotes the responsible use of water. It is the award given by the National Water Authority to the companies that participate in the Water Footprint Program. Helping to reduce the water footprint is our shared responsibility. Join the initiative to help Lima become a water-sustainable and responsible city. Get informed and lead the change. Find out.
Is the amount of water you use in and around your home, school or office throughout the day. It includes the water you use directly. It also includes the water you use indirectly. This is the water it took to produce the food you eat, the product you buy, the energy you consume, and even the water you save when you recycle. You may not drink, feel, or see this virtual water, but it makes up to majority of your water footprint. If you examine your lifestyle, you can evaluate your water footprint using data that is based on average water use. In fact, water footprint can be calculated for individual, household, business, and countries. Why do water footprint matter? First is freshwater non-saline water is vital to life, yet as our population and prosperity grow, so does our use of freshwater. Climate change impact increase the likelihood of change to the water cycle that lead to potentially prolonged periods of drought. Reduced water supplies will add the water insecurity both here and abroad. Water footprint help individual, business, or country because they reveal water use pattern from the individual level all the way to the national level. They shine a light on the water used in all the process involved in manufacturing and production for our goods and service. An accurate water footprint also account for how much water is contaminated during manufacturing and production because that water is made usable and is accidentally taken out of the system. The water footprint gives everyone from individual consumer to business manager to public official a solid frame of reference and help us all be more efficient and conservative with our water.
The Simple Show explains the carbon footprint. This is you. You've probably been hearing a lot about climate change and how you should reduce your carbon footprint. But what is that exactly? Just like an actual footprint, it's a mark you leave upon the environment. No, not with your shoes, but with every action that releases carbons. Those are the harmful gases, such as CO2, which are pumped out by burning fossil fuels like oil or gas. The more fuel you use, the bigger your footprint will be. You may think that by driving your car, the only carbons you release come from the engine, but no. Consider the carbons that are emitted just to get fuel into the tank. From the energy needed to extract the oil from underground, the pollution caused by transportation and refinement, to the final delivery to your local petrol station. Not to mention the CO2 released by manufacturing your car in the first place. More than you thought, huh? So unless you live in a cave, you and everything you own has its own carbon footprint. Read a book? Printing and distributing. It uses energy. Brush your teeth, and your utensils will have a history in a factory. Even something as basic as an apple could have traveled hundreds or even thousands of polluting miles to end up in your local supermarket. You see, it's pretty much impossible to leave no carbon footprint behind, but that's no reason to stop trying. Think about your actions and choices, and you'll be able to reduce your personal mark after all. That's how you really put the boot into climate change.
Component of water footprint. First is definition. The concept of water footprint was developed to improve water management at the global level. The water footprint, be it of individual, community, or business, is an indicator of consumption, direct and indirect, of water, defined as the total value of fresh water used to produce goods and services consumed by any individual, community, or business. The use of water is measured for the volume of water consumed, evaporate, and or pollution water per unit of time. The water footprint has three components: green, blue, and gray. Together, these components provide a comprehensive picture of water use by delineating the source of water consumed, either as rainfall, soil moisture, or surface groundwater, and the volume of fresh water require of assimilation of pollutant. The calculation of the water footprint. The water footprint can be calculated for any well-defined groups of consumer: individual, family, village, city, country, state or nation, or producer, a public or private agency, or an entire economic sector. It is a geographically explicit indicator, not only showing the volume of water consumed and polluted, but also its location. The water footprint of a particular product is the volume of fresh water used to produce it, measured at the location where the product were actually produced, and refers to the amount of water consumption in various stages of the production chain. Each biological system, be it plant or animal, contains a certain quantity of water, but this is only a small fraction of that used for its production. The three elements of the water footprint: green, blue, and grey. The water footprint of a product is divided into three fractions, each of which identified by a different color: green, blue, and grey. The green element refers to the consumption of water content in plant and soil in the form of moisture, without being part of any surface or body of groundwater. One example is rainwater, provided that it does not stagnate in the soil and is able to filter into the ground. This element also includes the value of non-irrigated agriculture in terms of saving the blue element. The blue element refers to the consumption of surface water resources and groundwater throughout the production chain of a particular product. In terms of consumption, it refers to the volume of water used and then evaporate or incorporate into a product for either surface or groundwater that is not returned to the reservoir from which it is drawn. The grey element refers to the pollution of water resources and is defined as the volume of fresh water needs to dilute the pollutant load generated by a given process so as to maintain unchanged the concentration naturally present and the quality standard of the water from its original source. Component of water. A water footprint shows the extent of water used in relation to consumption by people. The water footprint of an individual, community, or business is defined as the total volume of fresh water used to produce the good and service consumed by the individual or community or produced by the business. Water used is measured is water volume consumed and polluted per unit of time. A water footprint can be calculated for any well-defined groups of consumer: individual, family, village, city, province, state or nation, or producer, a public organization, private enterprise, or economic sector, for a single process or for any product or service. Traditionally, water use has been approached from the production side by quantifying the following three columns of water use. Water withdrawal in the agriculture, industrial, and domestic sector. While this doesn't provide available data, it is a limited way of looking at water use in a globalized world, in which products are not always consumed in their country of origin. International trade of agriculture and industrial products in effect creates a global flow of vital water or embodied water. In 2002, the water footprint concept was introduced in order to have a consumption-based indicator of water use that could provide useful information in addition to the traditional production sector-based indicator of water use. It is analogous to the ecological footprint concept introduced in the 1990. The water footprint is a geographically explicit indicator, not only showing volume of water use and pollution, but also the location. This is given a grasp on how economic choice and process influence the availability of adequate water resources and other ecological realities across the globe.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Fatin Shazwani binti Abu Zaki. My matrix number is 03DPR20F2075. What makes a blue, green or grey water footprint? Blue water footprint is water that has been sourced from surface or groundwater resources and is either evaporated, incorporated into a product or taken from one body of water and returned to another or returned at a different time. Integrated agriculture, industry and domestic water use can each have a blue water footprint. Green water footprint is water from precipitation that is stored in the root zone of the soil and evaporated, transpired or incorporated by plants. It is particularly relevant for agriculture, horticulture and forestry products. Grey water footprint is the amount of fresh water required to assimilate pollutants to meet specific water quality standards. The grey water footprint considers point sources, pollution, discharge to a freshwater resource directly through a pipe or indirectly through runoff or leaching from the soil, impervious surface or other diffuse sources. Next, the figure shows component of a water footprint. There are two types, is direct water footprint and indirect water footprint. Reduce your water footprint. People use lots of water for drinking, cooking and washing. but even more for producing things such as food, paper, and clothes. A water footprint is an indicator that looks at both the direct and indirect water use of an individual, business, community, city, or country. Direct water use refers to the water we see coming out of the tap. The fresh water we use each day for drinking, cooking, showering, washing dishes and clothes, and gardening. Indirect water use refers to the water that is used to manufacture the goods that we consume or produce and the service that we use, as well as all of the water that is made unusable by pollution or wasted by non-use. That includes all of the water used to grow the food that we eat, to produce the things we use in daily life, clothes, books, and furniture, and the water needed to produce the energy we use. Why this indirect water is invisible, we often use far more of it than we release. In Europe, for example, the average person directly consumes between 100 to 150 liters of water a day. As drinking water for washing clothes, bathing, and watering plants. But each person also indirectly consumes anywhere between 1,500 and 10,000 liters of per day, depending on where they live and their consumption habits. Measuring water footprints can give you a clear picture of how water is used in today's society and help us come up with strategies for more sustainable water usage. How to reduce your water footprint? Broadly speaking, you can reduce your direct water footprint by turning off the tap while brushing your teeth, using water-saving toilets, installing a water-saving shower head, taking shorter showers, only washing your clothes when necessary, fixing household leaks, using less water in the garden and when cleaning, not disposing of magazines, paints, or other pollutants down the sink. When it comes to reducing your indirect water footprint, there are a number of different approaches you can take. The food we eat takes up a hard part of our personal water footprint, and implementing some of these change cloud of knock-on benefits for your health too. Examples include eating less meat. Beef is one of the most water-intensive proteins, needing 50,000 liters of water per kg, followed by red meat in general. Other less water-intensive proteins include pulses like beans, lentils, and peas. Chicken has a much lower water footprint than beef. So, if you are not ready to become vegetarian or vegan just yet, giving up or just cutting back on red meat can help. Switching coffee for tea. Cups of tea and coffee may look like they contain the same amount of liquid, but producing coffee beans requires far more water than growing tea leaf, around 140 liters for a cup of coffee and around 34 liters for tea. Cutting down on sugar. Drinking a bottle of cola actually consumes around 2 or 3 bathtubs full of water. Growing sugar canes uses a lot of and often water polluting pesticides. Consuming more local produce. Producing a tank of petrol requires a lot of water, so reducing the amount of meal your food has to cover for farm to plate will also help save, and your food will be fresher and more rich in vitamins too. Win-win. Buying quality, not quantity. The clothes we wear use high amount of fresh water. Cotton fabric and denim chains are particularly greedy. Buy well-made clothes that are intended to last rather than high amounts of cheaply produced items that will need to be replaced. The same goes for any other consumer product, as particularly all manufactured products from electronics to books and cosmetics consume water in the production process. Buying less will protect the world's water supply and your wallet. The responsibility for cutting back on water consumption should not just lie with consumers. Of course, for people to be able to make informed discussion about which option to choose, businesses need to be transparent about their process, and governments move forward thinking when it comes to regulation. When information is available on the impacts of a certain article on the water system, consumers can make conscious choice about what they buy. And if governments were to bring in water-saving measures, business would be incentivized or perhaps even obligated to introduce water-saving measures.
Countries uses the most water. Global water usage is thriving in industry, article water uses, while article liquor water uses is the biggest water use categories. Global industry water uses can be significations of various greatly by countries. The amounts depends upon the volume of fresh water uses. The products, consumer goods like car, plastic bottle and food. More industrialized countries uses more water. Comparisons of water footprint from the select country. Please compare. You can find your country's water footprint. A. The amounts of water different countries uses. B. One of water footprint network which provides statistics from most countries with the water import and export, and for the total water footprint of nations with the International Conventions. This chart lists the total volume of fresh water uses. The product consumer good like car, t-shirt, plastic bottle and food. What almost known as with water on a person's basis of variety of countries. The total volume of fresh water is a combine of the amount of water uses domestic users internationally to manufacture those goods. The water footprints vary between countries because they are based on consumer habit of people within each country, as well as the country's climate and water users practice. Water footprint benefits. The answers to the questions as why is water footprint significant or confessions, and we can make a book out of it. You have to consider all the activities that you do from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep to understand the amount of water that you consume directly and indirectly. When we calculate the overall amounts, you should know that we then the consumer between 130 and indirectly. When we calculate the overall amounts, you should know that we then the consumer between 130 150 liters of water daily. That is not all water that we drink every day. If you think about things you consume today, such as a food, have in mind that the bread you are eating, for instance, requires water to grow, transport it to the bakery, bake it, and create a plastic bag in which you purchase it. This bread you are eating, for instance, requires water to grow, transport it to the bakery, bake it, and create a plastic bag in which you purchase it. Besides, we are not talking about non-gluten such as sugar that are also affecting the unique flavor of the breads. Similarly, things we were as well include required water from their products and manufacturing, which speeds water in general. When you think how many products you eat, consumer purchase settings wear and make daily, and when combined both direct and indirect water uses, we think to drink approximately 3,500 liters daily. Almost every single item that we use requires water in one stage of product, and the best way to understand the idea in direct consumption of water is the with food. When you cook rice, you will need water to do it. However, think about how many water manufacturing is the ground in the first place. According to statistics, manufacture required 2,700 liters of water to produce 1 pound of polished rice.
No matter where you live, whether in the country or the city, on a suburban street, or even up in a treehouse, water surrounds you. It's in everything, except it's water you can't see. It's the water needed to grow the tree that gives us the paper to make a book, the water used to manufacture the metal and rubber that become a bicycle, or the water used to create computer processors in a laptop. Water footprints measure the virtual water in everything, even in the food you eat, which is useful because around 80% of all water consumed in the United States goes to agriculture. A typical almond grove in California's Central Valley is literally flooded with water multiple times each growing season. That makes the water footprint for almonds pretty high. Eating one almond means eating 1 virtual gallon of water. A walnut takes nearly 5 gallons, while a single orange may need 14 gallons to grow. The water footprint of 1 avocado? It can be 60 gallons. That's a big water footprint. Everything we eat requires making choices, and those choices add up. Meat, for example, has a very large water footprint. First, cattle drink a lot of water. It also takes an enormous amount of water, by far the largest part of cattle's water footprint, to grow the forage, hay, and grain on which they feed. But not all beef is the same. Cattle that are grass-fed and forage on open pasture rely more on rainwater than those raised on feedlots, where they subsist more on an irrigation-soaked diet of corn, soy, and other grains. Either way, meat eaters have a larger water footprint than vegetarians, while vegans, people who don't eat meat, eggs, or dairy products, have even smaller water footprints. What you eat is the biggest part of your water footprint, so reducing portion sizes is a good thing. You can also reduce your food waste, which is an even bigger problem. We waste nearly 40% of the food grown each year, from field to truck to market to your fridge. How much water is that? Nearly a quarter of all our freshwater use. Because just like the food in your pantry, you also have a water footprint. It's the sum total of every personal water decision you make, and in some cases, it's even water you can see. Start with your kitchen sink. How much water do you run each day? Does your faucet have an aerator, which reduces water flow? And what about washing dishes? Do you do them by hand or with a dishwasher? Believe it or not, washing dishes by hand usually takes more water than newer water-efficient dishwashers. Check to see if yours has an Energy Star rating. Those that do use much less water than conventional dishwashers. Another place you can calculate your water footprint is in the bathroom, from shower to sink to toilet. Being mindful of your water use at the bathroom sink can really lower your water footprint. The same goes for your shower. Shorter showers mean using less water. And converting to low-flow shower heads can further cut your water use. You can also install low-flow toilets. They can decrease your water footprint from 5 to about 1.5 gallons per flush. And you don't always have to flush. As they say, if it's yellow, let it mellow. You might also want to look at how you wash your clothes. Conventional washing machines use 23 gallons per load, while more efficient models nearly cut that in half. And if you don't wash your clothes at home, you're looking at anywhere from 13 to 38 gallons for a load of laundry. So if you care about water use, it's worth learning more about how your clothes are washed. Like your food, your clothes also have a unique water footprint. You can extend it by making clothes last longer, or by donating them when you're done, instead of throwing them away. You can learn more about your water footprint at watercalculator.org. It's a personalized, interactive experience that helps you understand more about your personal water use. Water. It's in everything from your food to your clothes. It's in things where you live, and in things like carrots that may come from halfway around the world. From places where water could one day run out, which for some people would mean no more carrots. That's why it's important to remember that water, everywhere, is finite. And tools like water footprints are a valuable aid to help you use a precious resource more wisely. To learn more about terms like virtual water, water footprints, Energy Star, low flow, and aerators, visit lexiconofwater.com for a collection of people and words that can change the world.
Calculate footprint. Have in mind the water footprint includes measures of the amount of water required by institutions, community, individuals, or countries that we use daily, either indirectly through the food we consume, the energy we use, product that we buy, and many more, and directly through off the tap from the consumptions. Therefore, the water footprint includes the sum of all water that has been used from various stages of product and manufacturing. At the same time, 70-100% of the 17% of the water that we consume daily is based on product and consider indirect consumptions. Every single stage of making some product requires some amount of water. For instance, a pair of jeans requires 1,000 liters of water to make a single pair. From product synonym, you have harvest a cotton jeans, it's spun and wove into the fabric. Then the fabric dyeing by uses toxic moderate and synthetic indigo enters waterways and poisons. Soon afterward, they are washing the fabric, create and texture look, and distresses is again within a chemical process that we polluted drinking water source. Blanchings and acid washings of jeans require using chemicals such as hydrogen peroxide and potassium permanganate, which is high toxic to both animals and humans. In the case of washings of jeans require using chemicals such as hydrogen peroxide and potassium permanganate, which is high toxic to both animals and humans. In the case of stone washings, the fabric has to be rubbed, which pushes stone and its dust will affect the water. As soon as jeans are repeated and screened, manufacturers packaging them into a plastic bag. That individually features large water footprint and transported from millers so that you can purchase them in retail store. Every single steps we have mentioned above the manufacturing to distributions requires both direct and indirect water footprint. Direct one includes the product process that becomes indirect at the next level. In the particular example, you need the water grow the cotton, which is direct water footprint, but soon afterward it becomes indirect one when the manufacturing start the process into the fabric. Water footprint provides an ideal segmental measurements to cover the fresh water. Concept is ideal as everyone can have an idea how much amount of water is polluted and washed by individually. Hence, it can set to individual goals to curb water. Fresh jeans have a both negative and positive impact towards the suitable water footprint. However, by using water footprint as a measuring unit, we can further increase in product efficiency by reducing the same water resource again and again with treating a polluted water with necessary treatments. Thank you.